So how do you speak to teenagers about the topic of pornography? Well, similar to the clip where I spoke about speaking to children, I encourage all parents, caregivers and educators to remember the AVA principle: affirm, validate and acknowledge. If a young person brings the question or the topic of pornography up, I want to encourage you to firstly affirm them. Resist shutting them down, because the last thing you want to do is encourage them to take their question to another place, to the internet or to their friends. So even if it's encased in adolescent immaturity, even if it's a question or a statement like, what about boobs, or what's the problem with porn, mum? I want to encourage you to resist that temptation to shut them down and make sure you affirm them. Secondly, validate the question, validate them and validate the topic. This is a really important topic. I want to thank you for bringing it up. Quite often this shocks a young person, but it is important that you create a platform where you can actually speak about this. And lastly, acknowledge that this is difficult. It's difficult for the young person, it might be difficult for you, and it can be a difficult topic, and it's okay to acknowledge that. So apart from that, as an introduction, I encourage you to remember two key concepts. The first one is meaning, and the second one is love. When speaking to a young person, most teenagers believe sex has a deep meaning, despite what we think. After speaking to thousands of young people, I can tell you, when you scrape aside some of their superficial statements like sex is casual or sex means nothing, just about every young person thinks it has a deep, important meaning. So reminding someone of that, reminding them that porn actually reduces what sex is about. Porn makes it less than what it was created to be, less than what they actually want to experience in their future lovemaking or in their future relationships. The second concept that I encourage you to speak about is love. Most people believe that sex was created to be a loving action, and the problem with pornography is that it doesn't treat it as such. In fact, in many ways, porn represents sex in a way that is completely opposite to lovemaking. You see, the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is to use, and that's exactly what porn is about. It's about using another person for your own gain. And so when we delve into this topic, when we encourage people to think about this topic, they can see that porn reduces what sex is meant to be, and in fact trains us to think about people and lovemaking in a way that is way below the standard that most people want for their own life. On top of that, if there's anything else you want to add in, I would encourage you to do that. Don't go too far and wide, but little things like how porn is now the leading cause of erectile dysfunction for young men can be a bit of a game changer in how people think about the topic. Sometimes personalising the topic. Saying to someone, how would you feel if that was your sister being depicted that way in that video? Perhaps drawing on some of the research and the science, talking about how it affects your brain and how it affects relationships. I like to point people to an organisation called Fight the New Drug. They've got some great material on this topic and they unpack it in a really culturally relevant way. So that's all for today. I hope that's helped, but I encourage you, please spend some time on this topic. Become aware of the topic yourself so that you can speak to the young people that are in your circle of influence.